Hi, my name's Billy. I read books and I've read An Echo of Things to Come by James Islington. This is book 2 in the Licanius series. This was published in 2017 and it's a big book. It's just over 700 pages long. Now, as you can probably tell by the thumbnail to this, I've given this book 3 out of 5, which generally means there's nothing wrong with it. It's not a bad book. There's just some things that just aren't working for me. Now, to tell you what those things are, first of all, this story carries on from book 1, where book 1 ends. And I did a spoiler-free review for book 1, which I will link down below. And there was a lot of stuff happens in book 1. It's a frenetic pace. And this book continues in that style, but not as much. It's still busy. There's still a lot going on. You're not stuck there for 30, 40, 50 pages just with the plot just meandering along. The story and the plot is always moving, but the pace is slower. Well, how can that be? Well, that's because of a different way the story is told. And by that I mean there's flashbacks. Well, not just flashbacks, but more like forgotten memories coming to the surface or visions of things that are to come in the future. Now, that can either be hit or miss for people. And in the past, in different books, I'm thinking of The Lies of Loch Lamora by Scott Lynch. I really love that because in that book, I enjoyed the main story that was going on and I enjoyed the flashbacks that were going on. In this book, I was kind of invested in the main story, but not invested at all in the flashbacks, the forgotten memories that were coming forward. And I was finding that was spoiling my flow of reading. As a reader, I like to build up momentum and flow. And when I have that going, I can knock out 50, 60, 70 pages in one go. If I feel like if I'm having to stop and go back and then come forward and then go back with flashbacks that aren't working for me or anything else within a book, I struggle. I'm like a car backfiring. I struggle to get going and get going anywhere. So when it's a book of this size, that can be a bit of a problem. Now, I mentioned in my spoiler-free review for book 1 that the names of the characters and places just weren't resonating with me. And it's the same with this, in this book. The names are just, to me, are just generic fantasy names that just aren't landing and just aren't connecting with me. So you've got the main storyline going along, and I'm struggling to remember who's who because it's just generic fantasy name. Oh, here's another generic fantasy name that's just turned up. Who's this person? Oh yeah, that person. They did this. Okay. And then the story goes on. Thankfully, in this version of the book there is a glossary at the back. So you can go back and look if you like to work out who people are to refresh your memory. But the problem is you then have the flashbacks and you get more people introduced. Hit the forgotten memories and more people introduced. And again, it's just generic fantasy names to me, and it just wasn't working. And these forgotten memories, these sections went on a bit too long for me as well. Now, they are pertinent to the story. They are relevant to the story. I understand why it's being done. It all plays into what this story is. I get it. It's just not quite working for me. And it might not work for you, or it might work for you and you might love it. As I say, generally, I don't have a problem with flashbacks. I think for me, it's not working because I'm just not connecting with the names of characters and places to the point where I've kind of stopped trying now. I'm just letting it wash over me. And if it sinks in, it sinks in. If it doesn't, well, I'm just going to carry on with the story. There is a section in the book where a character is introduced that I don't see the point of it. It comes to light towards the end as to why this character was there, but this plot line, this storyline that takes place takes up a fairly sizable chunk of pages in the book, and it just felt like when it was happening and then when this got resolved, thinking, why has this happened? I don't get it. Almost like it's just been something else just added into the book, just to get the plot moving along and just something else to happen. Also, there is the odd thing where, because again, I question things. I'm the kind of reader who questions things. I question motivations and people's actions. And I get it in books Characters aren't going to make the right decisions all the time. People make stupid decisions. I get that. That's real life. That happens in books. Characters can do stupid things or dumb things. But when it's a dumb thing that happens and as a reader you sit there and go, oh, what? Why have you just done that? And not when it's just like a normal character, so like me in a fantasy book. When it's a character who may have been round for several lifetimes, for argument's sake, and has got tons and tons of knowledge, and then they just do some throwaway thing that then just helps the characters and gets them out of a tricky situation, you think, it just pulls me out a little bit. And ultimately, that's what's knocked it down to 3 stars for me. I mean, I know I've just gone on about all the things I don't like about this, but if you think about the size of these books, and this is a debut series, that what James Islington is doing and the story he's crafting is very, very impressive. And I think if it hadn't been for those flashbacks not working for me, if it had just been told in the way the first book was, I think this would have probably been, I don't think it would have been a 4. It'd have probably been a 3.75, maybe something like that, maybe 3.5. It's just that. The more I think on it now, that's where it's settling. The book ends fine. It sets up book 3 nicely. I mean, book 3 is bigger than this as well. I'm hoping for book 3, we've got all these forgotten memories out of the way and the story can just continue. But yeah, I'd heard things about this book. I'd heard this book could be a bit hit or miss, and I get it now, and I know why that can be. But like I say, the story's not bad. There's a lot going on, lots of moving parts. James Islington should be praised for what he's doing here, for what he's trying to achieve. For me personally, it's just not quite worked. So let me know your thoughts. Have you read this book? What did you think of it? Is book 3 carry on in the same as this? Please don't tell me spoilers. And let me know what you think. If you like this video, give it a Billy Big Thumb, and I'll see you again in the next video. Take care, goodbye.